Hey, Noblewreck here with another sculpt. Sly Cooper, the night sculpt. Let's make something cool. I should have made the frame a little more sturdier, I think. This is just copper wire, but I should have braided it. And I should have braided his tail into the copper wire frame. But this worked out. When you do something, that's how you learn what you need to do better next time. I used the green tape that you would find in florists using fake flowers. I don't know what you call it, but it's the florist tape. And it's green, and it's got a bit of stickiness to it. My jury is still out on that. I don't know if it worked out pretty well or not. I thought it did give the armature a bit of grip. I mean, it might have just sort of taken sandpaper to the armature. But you want the clay to grip the armature, and that's what I use the florist tape for. Here I've given him 3 fingers. Yeah, Western cartoons traditionally have 3 fingers, and I had forgotten that Sly Cooper was an exception to that rule, but I fixed that later. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't have too much trouble with COVID-19 in 2020. But in 2020, I did quit my job, and I would not advise anyone to quit a job without having one to go to. But I did give my 2 weeks notice on a job that I nearly, almost, worked for 10 years. And around by this time, about a year later, well actually a little less than a year later, during the summer, it just got a little tight on me. I was doing some odd jobs on the side, but right about this time, the carving of this image, there's just photographs of his knee. I don't know why it was photographed and not, I think I pressed the wrong button on I'm using a GoPro, and it took photos instead of video at that point, but there I was making the fur on the knee. I'm using baby oil to smooth down the carving, because it makes, it's like plowing a field and makes a little bit of debris. Clay debris, so I just smooth it out with the brush of baby oil. What am I making here? This is a strap for the pack that goes on his thigh. This is a Sly Cooper model after the second video game of the video game series, Sly Cooper. My nephew, I'm making this for my nephew, by the way, and he's a fan of Sly Cooper. And this took me about 3 months, or rather 2.5 months to do in my spare time. And I'm not home here, I'm home away from home. I stayed with my folks for a while, and that's one reason why I'm doing this kind of in the dark here with just one lamp. But it filmed pretty well. The platform on the bottom, over to the right there, has been cooked already. You don't want to cook everything all at once necessarily. Well, I needed it solid so it would support the figure while I'm sculpting on it. So I went ahead and or rather baked the platform that it stands on early. I think it's advisable to bake the whole thing at once if you can, because what you've cooked first and then cook new parts later, the old parts are going to get extra cooked, and that may cause some harm to the clay. The clay may get burnt, as it were. Here I'm making the head, the filler for the head, because the head, I was concerned that the head would be top heavy, so I wanted it good and hollow, filling only with here aluminum foil. I actually used some styrofoam later on. I actually made about 3 heads till I got it right. I was going to make it hollow with polymer clay, but that still was too heavy. So here I'm using air dry clay. And to make it gray, because Sly Cooper is a gray character, his fur is gray, I'm adding a touch of black air dry clay. And this, as you see, is Model Magic. I have no affiliation or no kickbacks from any of these clay producers. These are just the clays that I use to make my model. And of course this figurine is not for sale, or I'd get in trouble probably for selling. It's from a nephew. You may notice he has a break there. I'm tapping it to show that it's baked now, it's solid. There's a break at his, intentionally I put a break at his waist because I wanted the, I was expecting that the bubble wrap that I put in his thighs to make his thighs lighter would pop under the heat of baking. So I left a little hole at the top. And then I'm going to close that up later. So I did bake it in succession. I didn't bake it all together at once. I will close up the gap at his waist with a belt, because he does have a belt, the character does. And speaking of said belt, this is the belt. I'm kind of marking where it should go and then cutting it. It's roundish at the buckle, so I cut it rounded there. And now I'm making the icon that is the belt buckle. Sly Cooper's icon. Now the Kodesh, I guess you would call it, is probably literally a cane and not really a weapon. But Sly Cooper's cane is, well, it has, just like the body, it has copper wire for the armature to support its shape and to support its weight. There we go, now we paint it. I can complete his body now without doing his head and his tail. Paint it, in other words. The final details there, painting. Now I am making his tail. Making the fur texture on the tail. This is air dry clay, so he won't tip backwards. It's a lighter weight than polymer clay. I might say this is a mixed medium. There we are, now we're finishing the details. And the head is also polymer clay. I'm sorry, not polymer clay, but air dry clay, but so that it would be lighter. And in this particular head I did have styrofoam in it instead of aluminum foil or aluminium foil. Eyes have two shades, give it a little, there's a highlight at the bottom and shading at the top of the eye. And line it with a liner brush, number 0 brush. I'm using the large sculpt tool to make the eye. There's the iris of the eye. Get you a nice round spherical object like the end of the tail end of a brush, or in this case, the bulbous end of a sculpting tool. It helps you make a nearly perfect circle for the iris of the eyes. Now, I was saying that I quit my job, but I got another job that I've been working for a few months now. This was a transitional period while I was making this figurine. And like I said, I was away from home for a while. Not because the power was out, but because the internet. I couldn't afford the internet at the moment. But once I got internet back up, I left my parents and came back home. And while I was there, I made Sly Cooper, and I filmed it to make this video. Getting back on my feet a little bit, and I'll be I'm making another figurine now inside the computer to 3D print with a 3D printer that I do have. So that may be another video. Let's make something cool. Thanks for watching.